Alright guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. This week we got the Players Championship, and it is going to be another solid week for us. The player pool is really soft. There's a lot of really easy plays and just a lot of values all over the board. But as always, I do like to do a recap of the previous week of the Arnold Palmer Classic. But if you guys just want to get straight into the player pool, I will have that in the comment section below. Just kind of click that. But I do want to go over the API. So the API is probably our best week. It's been weird. We've just been getting better and better each weekend. Each week I'm like, it can't get that much better than the previous week. And then somehow it does. You look at our core plays, all of them made the cut. The only one that didn't top 10 was Billy Horschel, and Billy Horschel was just such an easy play because you knew he was going to make the cut. But the problem with last week, or the easy part of last week, is that, Tyrrell Hatton, Harris English, and Billy Horschel, they're pretty much free squares. The build started pretty easily that way. I really like Bryson as well. He was a high exposure play. T9 finish. Rory, if you could fit him into your build, you should have. He was just an easy play. T5 finish. So the top 5 rated players last week were Billy Horschel, Tyrrell Hatton, Harris English, Collin Morikawa, Bryson DeChambeau, and Rory McIlroy. And obviously, 5 or all but Billy Horschel top 10 there. So it was a really solid week last week, and it was just domination across the board. Had a bunch of green screens coming in from 9 to 5 Nation. I do love to see that. Had someone take down a round 2 showdown GPP. That was awesome to see, and that's actually the third one on the year. So when I started this season, this 2020, so this new year, my goal was to have 3 members of 9 to 5 Nation win a GPP. And yeah, sure, they're showdown slates. They've all been showdown slates, but at least they've been taking them down. So that is, we met our goal there already, which was awesome. Round 1 for me for the showdown slate was really easy. I mean, it was one of the easier showdown slates. Typically, I like to attack the showdown slate with round 2 with pretty much those players in the core or high exposure, or just, players that are really chalky that didn't go off in round 1. They kind of, didn't play well, that are going to regress back to the mean and go on and have a solid round 2. That's typically how I like to attack it. But last week the weather advantage was there. I was on Taylor Gooch and Rory, and I gave that out in the live stream last week. So it's a really solid starting point there. And I just pretty much mixed in the core plays there. It was a lot of Collin Morikawa, it was a lot of Tyrrell Hatton, and then Harold Varner was mixed in there as well. So really solid on the showdown side. The main belt did really well. It came together pretty easily as well. It was Ian Poulter and then Bryson DeChambeau kind of closing it out for me with, all the other core plays mixed in there. There was Collin Morikawa, Billy Horschel, Daniel Berger, and then Tyrrell Hatton, the winner. So going back to that as well, we've had the winner in our high exposure core play or in just our main build more times than not this year, and it's been pretty crazy. If you just exclude like the times that Rory and JT won, because yeah, everyone was on him that week somewhat. It's been really, really solid so far. The only question is so far now is can it get better? I mean, if it does, we're just going to be taking down GPPs across the board this week. I doubt it will, but I'm just hoping that we can stay the same. Hopefully we've hit a plateau and we can just stay there for a while. Let's get into the overview for this week. All right, so getting into the tournament overview, who are some of the players that are in some really good recent form? Obviously, Jon Rahm and Rory, they've just been top 10 machines, top 5 machines pretty much as well. Daniel Berger's coming off of 3 straight top 10 finishes. Shane Lowry's been making a ton of cuts. Collin Morikawa obviously has been making a ton of cuts. Same thing for Max Homa, who went out and played well last week. And then kind of going back to the regression point that I made earlier for the showdown site, Benny Ann has been really solid this year. And if you played him 2 weeks ago when he was really chalky, when he had that horrible first round, you should have played him in the showdown slate just because of that regression that I talked to already. Then Taylor Gooch has made a ton of cuts, and so has Billy Horschel. Getting into event history, Rory, last year's winner. Webb Simpson has been really dominant here. Matt Kuchar's been solid, and so has Adam Scott. Those 3 right there have just been cut makers here. Tommy Fleetwood's been really solid in his 3 starts at this event. Ian Poulter hasn't missed a cut, and Daniel Berger hasn't missed a cut as well, although those finishes haven't been fantastic. It's nice to see that they're not missing cuts. The stats I'm going to be looking at this week are pretty similar to last week. I'm going to put a little bit more of an emphasis on ball striking than I normally do, although I typically always put a strong emphasis on it, but a little bit more this week. Going to be looking at that long iron stat. I kind of tweaked it from last week, and then we'll be looking at bogey avoidance and then also putting. So that's going to be the key stats we're looking at. Let's get into the player pool this week. All right, so starting off on the high tier here, I'm really fine with Rory, Rahm, or Justin Thomas. Rory obviously is a great play. Every single start that he's had this year has been a T5 finish or better. He's last year's winner, and he's a fine play. I think I might just take the price discount, though, and go with Jon Rahm, who's been in equally as good a form, -1 bad start, if you will. He's a slightly better stat fit as well, though, and his course history is fine. Could be a little bit better, could be a little bit worse. If you guys see me looking down, I'm just going to be looking at my stat sheet on 9 to 5 Sports. It's a little bit easier to read, and I don't have to waste paper that way. But yeah, Jon Rahm hasn't missed a cut here in the last few years. Justin Thomas is a strong, long iron player. Good bogey avoidance, good in greens and regulation. He's kind of hit or miss, but he could easily go on top 5. But the easiest play on the board this week seems like it's Webb Simpson. Other than that WGC Mexico Championship, where, it just doesn't seem like that's a good course for him. We have enough sample size to say that that's probably true. He's just not a good player at that event. But he is a really good player at this event. A 16th, a 1st, and a 16th. He's the best stat fit according to my model this week, and he's the best overall model rank. So I really like Webb Simpson this week. The only problem is we got Bryson DeChambeau right there as well, who's also a good play. He finished 20th here last year and 37th the year before that. He's 12th in ball striking, or total driving, 9th in ball striking. Heck, his lowest stat that we're looking at this week is total putting, which is 71st. He is a top 5 stat fit, and he ranks 11th in my model. So I think Webb and Bryson could actually be some pretty solid starting points for our builds this week. All right, so getting into the low tier here, I really like Colin Morikawa as a play this week. I do worry about him being the first time playing this event, so he'll probably only be a low exposure play for me. Don't want to overextend myself too much on him, but he's just been really solid this whole year. Obviously, he's just been a cut maker since he's been on tour, 21 straight, so I do like him as a play. Shane Lowry is going to be fine as well. Matt Kuchar is going to be an interesting one because his game is trending upwards. He hasn't missed a cut here in the last 3 years, 26th, 17th. Really, just a made cut there in 2017, and then a 3rd overall finish in 2016. Like I said, his game is starting to get better. It really just seems like his game lacked at that Hawaii trip. Billy Horschel has just been a cut maker as well. I do like his course history, 26th, 37th, a miscut, and then a 28th. He's a strong total driver, strong ball striker, great putter. He typically doesn't make too many birdies or bogeys, so Billy Horschel is going to be a fine play. I don't know if I want to overextend myself on him. And Abraham Answer was really popping for me. Had a 12th overall finish here last year. Been in some really solid recent form. Heck, he's made 10 out of 12 cuts on the year and 4 top 10s already. He's top 30 in total driving, ball striking, bogey avoidance, and then he's 42nd in that long iron stat that we're looking at this week. So I do like him. He is a top 20 stat fit. But Daniel Berger, he might be the most mispriced play on the board this week. Sure, his course history isn't great, but he was making cuts. 67th, 57th, 65, and then a 9th. That could be a little bit better. It does worry me that it's not that good, but after that, everything that we're looking at is great. His lowest stat that we're looking at is 75th. Everything else is pretty much like top 20 or better. He is a top 10 stat fit, and he's top 20 in my model this week. Given the recent form there, given the stat fit, given the course history, he's checking all the boxes, and he's priced too cheap. This is a lot like Harris English last week, where if he misses, it's still the right play, and, sometimes that'll just happen. We just kind of have to play him this week. Then Lanto Griffin, I touched on him on the live stream last week, where I'm like, I kind of want to get some outright bets to him. Now, I can't bet in Wisconsin, but if I could, I might have done that as well. He's living down in that area now. He's been playing at this course when he can. So I don't mind Lanto Griffin as a play. I thought he was going to be a value, though, so that was a little bit of a bummer. I think we can get some exposure to him. If he was 6.8K or so, I would really like him. He is a decent stat fit as well. All right, and then get into the value tier here. So Harold Varner is an interesting play. Each and every week, he's pretty much been a good stat fit. That's just kind of who he is. It's just whether or not he goes out and produces. He's sometimes one of those headaches. But he's made the last 3 cuts on the season. And even if you look at his missed cuts, they haven't been bad. He went under par twice and went even par after that. So at least he's been, right around the made cut. And his course history here is really solid as well. Missed cut last year, a 7th, a 35th, and a 57th. So obviously it's all kind of right there for him. And since he's a value play, I really don't mind him as a play. And then Nick Taylor. This pricing kind of shocked me. 16th finisher last year, a made cut the year before that, and then 2016 he did miss the cut. But Nick Taylor, he's top 15 in total driving, ball striking, putting. He's hitting greens in regulation. He isn't really making bogeys. He's top 40 in those. He's a top 10 staff hit this week and ranking out as top 20 in my model. That just really seems like a mispricing, and he's going to be one of those plays where I might not have him in cash just because that recent form isn't great. But I do think he makes for a great GPP play. He could easily go out in top 10, top 20 or so. Cameron Tringale, I do just want to mention. Good recent form, relatively okay course history. Don't mind the play. He's not the best at it, but he's just been finding ways to go out and play well. He hasn't played this course in the last 2 years, but before that, he had 2 made cuts in a row. And then Jonathan Vegas. So this is one of the most interesting plays on the board. You look at his recent form, it's actually pretty darn solid. Besides the Genesis Invitational there, he's been pretty good recently. His course history here is a third, 41st, a miscut, and a 57th. He's top 35 in ball striking, total driving. He's top 9 in par 5 scoring. He's top 50 in greens of regulation, the long iron stat. The only worry with him is that he's been making a ton of bogeys. So if he can, cut back on that, he could really go out and have a good week. And just at that price point, that's what I want to touch on. It's like he's just a really good play at that price point. If he was 6.9K, I might not be on him that much, but at 6.3K, he's definitely worth the risk. You could probably get John Rahm, you could probably get Roy into your builds if you're playing Vegas. So that does present a lot of upside there. He doesn't have as good of likelihood to make the cut, but if he does, I do think that will mean he's not making many bogeys, and he's playing well and could easily go out and get a top 10. All right, that's all I have for you guys this week. If you want to join 9 to 5 Nation, it has been really solid. We've been trending upwards. I am going to add the group chat feature in there for all paid members. It'll just be kind of a group-wide chat. Last week when I was looking at the weather splits, I had to throw the comment out there of who I was going to be getting on for round 1. I'd much rather just be able to throw that in the chat. So I'm going to be adding that feature to the web page, implementing a little bit more there. So we'll be adding that in there. It's at $10 a month. Obviously, we've been really solid this whole year. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. $10 a month. The link to that will be in the description below. All right, thanks for watching. As always, let's keep cashing. Thanks.